Welcome to Honeybee, real stories of love, lies, and betrayal, where every truth stings. Let's begin. My name is Dennis, and I spent 22 years married to the woman I loved, until she cheated on me and left for someone younger. When I told our daughter about her mother's affair, I never expected her to blame me. She immediately took her mom's side. It felt like my heart was ripped out and crushed right there in front of me. And what happened after that betrayal? None of us could have predicted it, myself included. Thinking back to the early days of my marriage with Carolyn, I honestly believe we were completely in sync. From the very beginning, we had long talks about what we wanted our future to look like. We both agreed that before starting a family, we needed to get our careers on solid ground. Carolyn was moving up the corporate ladder, and I had just landed a management position at a local firm. Waiting made sense. We focused on building our careers and saving money first. Those first 5 years were good. We worked hard, came home tired, but still laughed, talked, and planned together. We set goals and eventually bought a modest house in a quiet neighborhood. Around our 5th year, Carolyn became pregnant. The day she told me, I felt a mix of nerves and excitement. We were going to be parents. When our daughter was born, everything shifted, just like you'd expect. Carolyn chose not to go back to work after maternity leave. She wanted to be a full-time mom, and I supported that completely. We talked it through and decided it was the right choice for our family. My income covered everything we needed. We weren't rich, but we lived comfortably. The bills were paid, the fridge was full, and we always had a safe home. Life wasn't perfect, but we had respect for each other and shared dreams that kept us steady. As the years passed, life became more expensive. I started to feel the financial pressure. If I wanted my wife and daughter to keep living comfortably, I had to work harder. That meant longer hours, chasing promotions, and saying yes to more responsibilities, even when it came at a personal cost. At first, I thought I was doing the right thing. I'd leave early, come home late, drop my bag at the door, kiss my wife on the forehead, and head straight for the shower just to stay awake long enough to eat dinner. Some nights I was so exhausted I couldn't even talk. But in my head, I kept thinking, I'm doing this for us. One night, I came home, loosened my tie, and saw Carolyn sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of tea. The house was quiet. Our daughter was asleep upstairs, and the only light came from the stove's hood. I could have just mumbled a tired, "How was your day?" and gone straight to bed, but I didn't. I sat down across from her because I needed her to understand why I was pushing myself so hard. I told her, I'm not working like this because I want to. I'm doing it so that you and our daughter never have to worry about anything. I didn't know what kind of response to expect, but she surprised me by saying she understood. She called me the best husband and father in the world, told me she was proud of me, and that she appreciated everything I was doing. Hearing that gave me peace. It reminded me why I was sacrificing so much. Even with how busy I was, I never missed the important moments. Birthdays, anniversaries, school plays. I would rearrange meetings or skip work if I had to. Those moments mattered. They were what kept us connected as a family. When our daughter became a teenager, I thought life would finally get easier. By then, I had saved for a college, built up a solid emergency fund, and made smart investments. We were financially stable. So I slowed down. No more overtime, no more chasing promotions. I finally had time to be home and spend more time with my wife. I thought that would bring us closer. I was wrong. The more time I spent at home, the more I noticed something was different about Carolyn. She wasn't the same woman I married. Her tone was sharper, her warmth was gone. At first, I brushed it off, but soon it became obvious that this wasn't about one bad day. It was a pattern. She began lying about small things, dodging conversations, twisting my words as if I were the one starting arguments. It was confusing. We had built a life together. Sure, we argued like any married couple, but we always found our way back to each other. I couldn't figure out what I had done to deserve this new level of disrespect. Whenever I tried to talk about it, she would cut me off before I could finish. I wasn't trying to fight. I just wanted to understand. After 2 decades of marriage, I thought we at least owed each other that. But the more I tried to reach her, the further she pulled away. Eventually, I started questioning myself. Maybe I was the problem. Maybe I had missed something. But then one night, everything became clear. I had just finished clearing some emails in my home office when I noticed Carolyn wasn't in the living room. I didn't think much of it until I heard faint laughter coming from the bedroom. I walked quietly down the hallway. The door was slightly open. There she was, sitting on the edge of the bed, smiling at her phone, twirling her hair like a love-struck teenager. She was on a video call with a young man. He was teasing her, flirting, and she was blushing. I stood there for a moment, listening, until I heard him telling her what he wanted to do next time they met. I finally stepped in and said her name. She jumped, quickly ended the call, and then got angry at me. "Why are you creeping around like that? You always do this, just barge in without warning." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I looked her in the eyes and asked, "Are you cheating on me?" She stared right back and said, "Yes, I am." For a moment, everything went silent. My ears rang. I tried to make sense of what she had just admitted so casually. Then she doubled down. "What did you expect, Dennis? You were never here. You think I could live like that forever? You left me alone in this house for years while you buried yourself in work. I needed to feel something. I needed to feel alive." She made it sound like I was the reason she ended up in someone else's arms. I couldn't even speak. Within days, I learned more about the guy. Some younger man she met online. Someone who flattered her, made her feel wanted. I wasn't angry at him. I didn't even know him. What broke me was that she allowed this to happen, invited him into what was supposed to be our space. And the worst part? A part of me still wanted to save the marriage, but I never got the chance. The next morning, Carolyn told me she was leaving and that I'd begin divorce papers soon. I felt like I'd been hit in the chest by someone I trusted to protect me. I sat there in silence. Part of me wanted to beg her to stay, to reconsider, but the broken, exhausted part of me couldn't fight anymore. I watched her pack her bags. She had made her decision. So I made mine. I wasn't going to beg. But nothing prepared me for how heavy the silence felt after she left. The emptiness lingered for days. Eventually, I called my daughter, who was away at college, and told her everything. I explained how I caught her mother on that call, how I confronted her, and how she admitted everything. But instead of supporting me, my daughter took her mother's side. She said I had no right to be angry, that I was never around, and that her mom deserved to be happy. I was crushed. Everything I had sacrificed, late nights, missed sleep, extra hours, just so they could have a comfortable life. And my daughter blamed me for her mother's betrayal. That conversation left a scar deeper than the divorce ever could. So, when the divorce papers arrived, I didn't fight them. I just wanted it over. The court split everything. Because most of my financial progress happened during our marriage, Carolyn was entitled to a large portion. We agreed to a one-time alimony payment, so I wouldn't be tied to her financially for years. I paid it. It hurt, but it gave me freedom. She didn't want the house either. She had already bought a new place in a fancier neighborhood, probably excited about her new life. So I kept the old house. After the divorce, I didn't completely fall apart, but inside, I was broken. My wife was gone. My daughter had chosen her side. It felt like the life I had built for decades had vanished overnight, leaving me standing in the ruins. I made a choice. Since they were both gone, they were dead to me. No calls, no updates, no check-ins. I threw myself back into work, not out of ambition, but survival. The divorce had drained part of my savings, and I needed to rebuild. I started taking private projects, working for myself for the first time in years. That quiet grind became my therapy. 6 months later, my daughter reached out like nothing had happened. I wasn't ready. I had spent half a year trying to put myself back together, and I wasn't going to pretend nothing had happened. I replied bluntly, asking her why she was really reaching out. She didn't reply, and honestly, I was grateful. 3 months later, she tried again. This time her message was different. She apologized. She said she had finally realized everything I had done for our family, that I was never truly absent, that she had been wrong to side with her mother so quickly. She admitted that talking to people outside our family made her see things differently, and now she felt ashamed. Reading those words touched me. I agreed to speak with her. I wasn't ready to pretend nothing had happened, but she was still my daughter. That bond didn't just disappear. Slowly, we started rebuilding. She didn't push me. Over time, she opened up about what had been going on with Carolyn. Apparently, Carolyn had burned through the settlement money, vacations, shopping, spoiling that young man. He even convinced her to invest in a business idea that failed. Now, she might be broke or even in debt. I didn't celebrate. There was no joy in hearing about her downfall, but it reminded me that everything we had for 22 years wasn't luck. It was work, sacrifice, and responsibility. My daughter still visits her mother, and I told her she's free to do so. But whatever happens there stays between them. I want no part of it. 2 years after the divorce, I got a call from an unknown number. Something made me answer. It was Carolyn. She said my name like we were old friends. I didn't let her finish. I told her flatly, "Don't ever call this number again," and hung up, but she kept calling. Left long voicemails saying she was sorry, that she made a mistake, that the grass wasn't greener. She said she regretted everything. But I didn't care. I had already buried that part of my life. Reopening that wound would only drag me back into the pain I had worked so hard to overcome. So I never answered. Later, my daughter told me that the man Carolyn left me for had disappeared after draining her finances and even stealing some of her jewelry. Now she was alone, broke, and humiliated. Even then, I didn't feel satisfied. I didn't need her apology to find closure. I gave myself closure the day I decided not to look back. For me, healing didn't come from apologies or explanations. It came from choosing to walk away, rebuilding myself, and refusing to let her break me again. And that, to me, is enough. Thank you for listening.